Happy October, everybody. We've finally made it, and you know what that means? Pokemon Legends CA is coming out! Oh my god! Oh, and Halloween is coming up. I guess that's cool too. You wouldn't know it from the cover art, but Pokemon has a surprisingly lengthy history when it comes to ghosts. And no, I don't mean ghost-type Pokemon who really aren't all that scary, but actual full-fledged human ghosts. Most of them being little girls for some odd reason. So good evening, everybody, it's JPR, and today let's explain some of the very ominous ghost encounters that Pokemon has to offer. While Pokemon ghosts and graveyards have been a part of the series since the very beginning with settings like Lavender Town, the Pokemon Tower, and Mount Pyre, it wasn't until Pokemon Diamond and Pearl that we saw the very first human ghosts in the series. The Old Chateau, found in the heart of Eterna Forest, is home to many restless spirits. While at first this could just be dismissed as devious activities conducted by the local ghost types like Gengar or Rotom, it soon becomes evident that there are real human souls residing here as well. The first encounter you'll likely have comes in the dining room, where the spirit of an old man ominously drifts away with no walking animation upon entering the room. This old man is later revealed to be a former butler of the chateau in the Pokemon Evolution short The Old Chateau, and he very creepily watches Cheryl eat fake food? Everyone's got their thing, I guess. But the old man isn't the only ghost residing within the chateau, as a little girl can also be seen standing in another room once you enter the back rooms. Different back rooms, but still scary. She also makes an appearance in this same short, and it seemingly implies that she is the real ghost here, as the old man ends up turning into something that vaguely resembles what a Mega Haunter would look like. But the ghost girl is just straight up a demon with no resemblance to a Pokemon in the slightest. Who knows, maybe this was partly just some ghost-type trickery, but judging off of this short and the fact that you can still see the ghost after catching Rotom, leads me to believe that it's more than just some ghost types playing around. The only clue left behind by the chateau's former residents is a faded notebook that presumably says something so peculiar should make off with the motor, implying that they were aware of Rotom's presence within the home. But aside from that, we never learn anything else about the home's former inhabitants. I have to say, the atmosphere in this place is incredible. It definitely has one of the spookiest music tracks in the entire series. Like, it somehow makes you feel uneasy while playing a game rated E for everybody, and that's kind of an accomplishment, not gonna lie. I think what makes it even more unsettling is the lack of dialogue or interaction with these ghosts. There's no closure, there's no hints, it's very subtle and eerie. 10 points on the creepy scale. It's very different from our next ghost encounter in the Unova region, which gained a substantial amount of story context in Black 2 and White 2. Unova's ghost girl first appears in the Marvelous Bridge during Black and White's postgame. She doesn't say or do anything, she merely disappears when you approach her. The only line of dialogue in the game pertaining to her is in the gate to the Marvelous Bridge, where an old woman says, "Did you know before the Marvelous Bridge was built, there was a girl who always played with Abra around here?" Other than that though, Black and White provides no other information on the mysterious ghost girl. In Black 2 and White 2 though, during the main story, the player gets access to the Strange House to the east of the newly added Lentimas town. The Strange House is inhabited by all kinds of ghostly Pokemon and spirits that rearrange the furniture as you progress through it. When you enter the basement library, you can read the books on the shelves, which all have information on Pokemon related to sleeping, such as Drowsy, Hypno, Darkrai, and Cresselia. There's even a reference to Fire Red and Leaf Green here, as one of the books mentions how Hypno once abducted a small child. Midway through the house, the same ghost girl from the bridge appears, describing an everlasting dream of darkness, and wonders where her family and Abra are. With this tidbit alone, we can infer that this girl likely had an encounter with Darkrai at some point in the past and fell into an everlasting nightmare, from which she eventually passed away. Kind of like my everlasting nightmare that most people won't like and subscribe after they watch my videos. The town map implies that this is ultimately the spot where the girl lost her battle with Darkrai's nightmares, as it describes the location as a house known for a sad incident that is said to keep people away. It seems possible that this house is where the girl's everlasting nightmare was trying to be treated by a family of researchers, but to no avail. In the final room, the player is able to find Cresselia's lunar wing, which supposedly dispels nightmares, but apparently it didn't work for the little girl. She remarks on how the lunar wing won't do anything for her now, and how she was waiting on the bridge to return it to Cresselia, which then unlocks an encounter with Cresselia there in the postgame. In a way, this event is a very depressing mirror to the Cresselia event from Diamond and Pearl, where the sailor's son falls into an endless nightmare and has to be saved with the lunar wing. Unfortunately for this girl though, the lunar wing wasn't enough to save her. It also shows why Darkrai, despite not being an outright evil Pokemon, is feared and berated by the citizens of the Pokemon world. They know that if they fall asleep, there's a chance they might not wake up again. Part of me also wonders if this is why the Unova region has such aggressive research into dreams and sleeping. The dream world was a fun tie-in to the Gen 5 games, but perhaps it could be connected to this tidbit of lore, where this little girl became one of Darkrai's first victims. I'd go 7 points on the creepy scale, not quite up to the levels of uneasiness of the Old Chateau, but it reminds us of just how scary Pokemon would be if they were real. Jumping ahead to Gen 6, the Lumiose City Ghost Girl might be the most infamous of them all. Mostly because this one is incredibly out of left field and has no resolution. It takes place inside of a random office building. There's no build up to it, no ominous ghost-ridden environment. She just follows you out of the elevator, says no, you're not the one, doesn't elaborate, and leaves. This event can never be triggered again afterwards, and there's zero other mention of this in the game. Even when asked about it in interviews, Junichi Masuda just laughed it off and said, "Ghost Girl? We don't remember putting anything like that in the game." An identical Hex Maniac shows up in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire's Mount Pyre and says the exact same line of dialogue after you battle her. So I have to assume they're just messing with us at this point. At any rate, it is a really creepy event without much elaboration, and I'll be quite upset if there's no follow-up to it in Legend ZA. I mean, we are in Lumiose City, and the last trailer even showed off a new cemetery area within the city, so it seems like the perfect opportunity to finally make something out of it. I give this like a 6 on the creepy scale. It's very off-putting and kinda jump scares you, but once it's over, it just kinda leaves you with more questions than anything. On the note of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, though, there is yet another Ghost Girl sighting. This time happening within Phoebe's chamber at the Pokemon League. When first talking to Phoebe, the camera makes numerous cuts as she speaks. The first time, as the camera gradually fades out, for a split second a small girl pops into Phoebe's chair in the back of the room. If this happened in Scarlet and Violet, I would have just assumed it was a glitch. But the second camera angle appears to be from the little girl's POV, as she walks up behind Phoebe. And in the last camera angle, she can be seen again just behind the player to the left, making it clear that she was very intentionally placed here. Between this and the Hex Maniac, I think Game Freak was just taking full advantage of the many Pokemon internet creepypastas at the time. Back in 2011 to like 2013, there was no quicker way to get views on YouTube than talk about some weird creepy thing in a Pokemon game. They probably thought it was a ton of fun to torment us with some new creepy material, like the prospect of Phoebe having a deceased younger sister. I give it like a 3, it's weird, but it's the Pokemon League. Nothing here is going to hurt you. Except maybe Steven. It's worth noting this isn't the only thing that the remake's added in, as once the player returns to Mount Pyre in the postgame, they can find Phoebe on the summit talking to a gravestone, saying that she was there to visit her grandma today. If you go to the very top to see her grandfather, you'll see that the grandma is now missing, something that never happened in the original Hoenn games. Man, the bodies were just hitting the floor in Gen 6, they really did not care. While Pokemon Sun and Moon has its fair share of creepy material and wacky events like the alien dude just chilling out in the desert, yes, this really happened, surprisingly, there were no ghosts to be found. That is until Pokemon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon added a special haunted school side quest just after defeating Hala in the Grand Trial. Upon entering the school grounds at night, a little girl who speaks very strangely and her Drifloon are seen at the entrance, and they request your help in solving the 7 school mysteries. You solve the first 6, and they all appear to be either way less scary misunderstandings or the mischief of various ghost Pokemon. After the 6 mysteries are solved, you talk to the schoolgirl who reveals that she talks funny because she moved from another country to Alola, seemingly dispelling the idea that she's a spirit in a comedic way, just like the other 6 mysteries. But once a custodian spots you, he wonders why you're here alone at night and says that he never saw a little girl or a Drifloon, seemingly confirming that she was a ghost all along. I'll admit, I really like this one. It seems like an appropriate balance between stereotypical creepy Pokemon events and Alola's more comedic tone and writing. It also seems to be our second indication of a Pokemon outright killing a little girl. What's the deal with that, Game Freak? As of course, this ties into Drifloon's various Pokedex entries about it grabbing the hands of small children and dragging them to the afterlife. I give it a 5 on the creepy scale, solidly in the middle between funny and spooky. Also, one of my favorite spooky area themes in Pokemon history. It sets the tone extremely well. Funnily enough, Scarlet and Violet also references Drifloon's antics in its Pokedex portrait, as a young schoolboy is seen standing next to a horde of wild Drifloon. At first, this just seems to be a funny throwaway picture, but later in the game you can find students talking about a kid who went missing and now haunts the academy at night, which could very easily be this same kid pictured in Drifloon's Pokedex. Holy moly, Game Freak! This is probably a 1 on the creepiness scale though, because we never actually encounter the ghost boy in these games, we just hear about him. But between Alola and Paldea, we of course have a Galar ghost girl to talk about as well. And yes, we're using Po Town as the background music here because Galar doesn't have any spooky music. When first arriving in Hammerlock and Sword and Shield, you can find a small girl named Paula waiting by the station. She gives you an old letter and requests that you deliver it to a man named Frank who lives in Balenleia. Upon meeting Frank, he's shocked to learn that you got the letter from Paula because she apparently passed away decades ago, implying her to be a childhood crush of his. Symbolically, the player is given a choice scarf by Frank, perhaps signifying how they were bound together all this time. And upon returning to Hammerlock, a Reaper cloth is appropriately found in the spot where Paula used to stand. This one I would say comes off as way more wholesome than creepy. It's a girl who sadly never got to confess her feelings, waiting for someone to deliver her letter before she can let go and be at peace. It's still sad, but the resolution makes me smile. 2 on the creepy scale. But she's not the final ghost girl in Pokemon. That honor belongs to the girl from Pokemon Legends Arceus who tasks you with finding Spiritomb's 107 spirits. Upon finding all of them, she reveals herself to be the final spirit that completes the ghost Pokemon. This of course raises some questions about Spiritomb itself, and seemingly implies that it's actually made of 108 evil human spirits, not Pokemon spirits. Definitely adds to the creepy factor that this Pokemon already possessed. Who knows, maybe all of these ghosts throughout the Pokemon games are just fractured off Spiritomb wisps. Wouldn't that be an appropriate twist? It's a cool side quest, but because it happens throughout the game, it doesn't really have the opportunity to set itself up with a super creepy atmosphere or anything. I'll give it like a 3. So which of these ghost encounters in Pokemon is your favorite? Be sure to let me know in the comment section down below, but don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed and subscribe for more videos just like this one. I'll see you guys next time.